It says that if no action is taken to end teenage pregnancies, about 64% of teenage mothers will not be able to attain primary education. And about 60% will end up in peasant agriculture. So this leaves a very big situation for us to really look at. Are we right now? The situation has a lot to do with reacting, yet we can do a lot of prevention. So this is where we are opening up this discussion right now in the next 30 minutes to really have views on what can be done better. What do we need to challenge? What do we need to address in order to ensure that the teenage mothers have access to quality education, just like the rest of the people, just like the boys, just like anyone else, such that they can get an opportunity to ably participate in economic development. So as we go on, I'm going to request my co-host to play our short film to really get us into this discussion. Thank you. Sorry, I think we are having issues with our audio. Can you rectify that?
Yes, I'm working on that.
You have to share the screen again and click the share sound button.
Okay. Okay.
So
Try doing that. Okay. Okay. You know, I hope it does. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can, but we're not getting the audio.
Can you still see the screen? Okay. How about now?
Ekyokuba nga nava mu ssomero kimpisa bubi kuba naleka okusoma ne ngenda mu bufumbo nga sinneetuuka.
Okuba nga siri mu ssomero siwulira bulungi kubanga nali njagala nnyo okusoma. Omwana namufuna neesanga ng'embeera enzigyeyo mu ssomero.
Nali nkyasoma P7 nga maliriza okusoma bwe nafuna olubuto ne nva mu ssomero. Kati awo taata n'aŋŋamba ngeri gy'ofunye olubuto togenda sobola kubeera wano. Gamba oyo omusajja alikufunisizza mutandike okubeera mwenna kuba tojja sobola beera wano.
Many of them have been sent away from homes that they should go and get married to the boys. But remember, the boys are not ready to take them on at this particular time.
Embeera ey'okufuna olubuto nga nkyali mu ssomero tempisiza bulungi kuba taata w'omwana era tamulabiridde andi lubuto neera teyanfaako tagulidde mwana yali kagoye n'akamu. Engeri gye nafunamu olubuto sigenda sobola kuddayo ku ssomero.
The state is at stake if nothing is done about this number of so many children who dropped out of school during the pandemic.
The issue of dropping out undermines the effort and the gains of affirmative action towards the girl child education and the empowerment of women. But it's very unfortunate that our girls are getting pregnant, and that's the nature of the shelter where they are living. At the end of the day, they are traumatized, they are stigmatized, and they lose focus.
Nze kale nkyabaana okunsekerera nti nafuna olubuto ate n'abaana abamu bayinza okugamba nti nyinza obbono.
He can't stay in school because he's going to be like abused from like with other students and discriminated from other students. He'll be like, I can't sit with that girl, she's pregnant, such stuff.
Kati ku ky'abaana abawala okufuna embuto abamu baba bakyagala okuddayo ku ssomero nga amaze okuzaala.
And what is making it very difficult is the stigmatization attached, because the churches came out, the bishops came out very boldly and said we don't want these children to come to our schools.
Well, that comment was made a lot of rejection and also negativity in the communities. Schools have no facilities for pregnant women, pregnant girls to be in school.
Tukirize tugaane omwana afunye olubuto embeera ze ziba zikyuse abata tagenda kukakinga the same pace n'ono omwana ali free from pregnancy.
Girls drop out of school. In the long run, they fail to compete for the few available opportunities, especially on the labor market. Then when they drop out of school, most of them actually lose their self-esteem.
Jjukira n'abaana abazaalamu tebalabirira baana baabwe bw'omala omufunira olubuto ng'adduka ng'agenda.
That means that we are actually predisposing them to more forms of gender-based violence.
Kati omwana ajjukira talina buyambi ne famire ennyingi bazadde be tebalina ssente n'essente zennyini zikola za bugobi. Kati olaba abaana abo gye bakolera mu kirombe bakuba mayinja. Mu ttaka yo wansi bimanyi n'obbaziika ebirombe biziika abaana buli nnaku naye nga gye balina okujja ekikumi ekyokulya.
They should sensitize the community leaders, the teachers, even the parents themselves, the importance of education to these girls. And when they are sensitized, they think they will create mindset change for these people to accept these girls back in school.
Education for women is considered a luxury, but it is not. It's just her basic right.
The Ministry of Gender, together with Ministry of Education, are working on guidelines to enable adolescent mothers go back to school. And under the guidelines, the roles of each stakeholder are stipulated to ease the process, the transition from home back to school and then from school back home.
Omukisa ogwo singa mba ngufunye ogw'okuddayo ku ssomero kyandinsanyusizza nnyo kubanga njagala okweyongerayo.
Nowadays, women are like fathers. They are the one taking care of their children. They are the one paying school fees for their children. And if the girl is not educated, can't manage such things.
Nandiyagadde okubeera ng'omusawo.
Omuwala bw'aba asomye asobola okwesalirawo n'akola emirimu n'afuna ssente obulamu bwe ne bubeera bulungi n'aba ng'agasa eggwanga.
Wow, welcome back from that. I hope that video has really got us to really look at these issues, look at this particular issue from the different angles, from the girls' angles, from the angle of the educators, from the caretakers. And so we are going to have a conversation around that. And right now I'm going to invite Rosette Churchill to make a submission. Sorry, we're having a lot of disturbances there. If you've joined in, just mute your mic. Yes, so I'm going to invite one of our speakers. Sorry, I meant Irene Saint today to come and make a submission to complement on the Irene.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. I'm glad to be here. Sorry, I joined in a little bit late, but I'm now here. Basically, the documentary has really said it all. But to wrap it up, I just want us to contextualize the issues. When we look at the urban and the rural context, they are far different. And their challenges are really exacerbated by the fact that they're living in the rural areas. So I want to talk about the guidelines. Yes, the guidelines were set for these girls to go back to school. But when you look at the rural context and the urban context, it's easy. It's a little bit easy, you know, for an urban girl, because some schools really have those amenities for those girls to go back to school. But when you look at the rural context, the situation is far, far different. And of course, knowing very well that COVID exacerbated, increased the numbers of pregnant girls and dropouts, these guidelines are not just enough. You know, we've seen a lady saying the guidelines were set for the girls to go back to school, but you find that it's not enough to have guidelines. We need to have the structures in place for these schools to be able to retain the girls that are pregnant and those that are lactating, you know, the lactating mothers, the teenage mothers in school. So to me, I would want us to look at the real issues, you know, the need for the lack of resources for these girls, the real issues for these girls as they return back to school. Yes, we have agreed, they go back, okay. But then how is the condition where they're going? Those of us that have been mothers know how it is to take care of a baby. You know, so I'm assuming a situation, I'm in a class and I have to carry my baby, you know, and there's no bed anywhere to put it down when the baby wants to rest, you know, or you know, so many amenities are needed in schools if we are to really integrate or cater for the re-entry of pregnant and lactating, you know, teenage mothers. So I just want us to really think about the need for the systems. We need to invest. We need more advocacy for the stakeholders, the key stakeholders, to continuously invest. Because when we look at the numbers of those that haven't returned to school, we have gone so low, based on the percentages we had initially. When you look at the primary level, because of UPE, from the research done by some educationalists, the numbers were 50 by 50, boys and girls joining in P1, you know, then they go on reducing in secondary school. They are really a little bit low. Then when it comes to tertiary institution, you find the girls and boys, they say the percentage is 45%, 47% of girls joining tertiary institution. But we have gone down, and this is affecting our girl child. Yet we know that we cannot achieve the SDGs if we do not action and help the mothers. In the documentary, one of the girls said, nowadays mothers are taking care of their kids. So if we don't make sure that they return to school wholly, with all the necessary amenities, with all the necessary requirements, with all the support, without stigmatization, without discrimination, because we know how getting pregnant is in our communities. It is attached to having bad manners. It's you know, it is a bad omen. It is, you know, you're literally called a curse if you get pregnant when you're in school. You know, so the support structures are not just putting guidelines that yes, you go back to school, we have allowed you. Because initially when you would conceive in school, you would be just expelled and maybe come back to do exams. But then nowadays, we need to move further. We need the clear policies, and regulations in school, such that a teacher knows that this girl is entitled to her education. Then the head teacher knows that we need to provide a conducive environment for this child to really enjoy, not just attending, but fully participating, meaningful education, not just sitting there when you're being, discriminated, when you're being pointed at, when some teachers are also saying, you misbehaved, without looking at the factors behind why they are getting, pregnant. Why? Because people have different reasons. In COVID, during the COVID period, people conceived, girls conceived because of some by relatives, some by parents, some, it was really alarming. So you cannot continue judging them. You cannot judge them. The only thing we have to do is support them by reducing stigmatization. So from what I'm seeing from this discussion is that we need to move forward beyond guidelines. We need to provide the necessary amenities in schools. Yes. First of all is the policies and regulations to regulate the school. Like the school knows that if a girl conceives in school, you're not supposed to expel them. You're supposed to guide them. You're supposed to continue, continuously nurture them, support them, the psychological, support. It's also needed because sometimes they can go back to school when they're tortured psychologically because they're being pointed at. They are being called bad-mannered girls. Yet even sometimes it's the relative who really forced them, they were raped. Systems that can support these girls to retain, not just returning to school, but retaining them in school. We need a gender responsive school environment, to retain these girls in school. Then we also need assistance, full assistance, because our needs vary. When I am just a girl without a child or not pregnant, the needs are far different from those that are, from a girl who is, lactating mother somewhere or a pregnant woman. So we need to vary. We need to and when we look at their needs, they are far different. They are deeper than what we think. They are deeper than just provision of resources. They are more psychological. They are more so. So we need such provision holistically, such that we can be able to retain them in school. Yeah, that's it, basically.
I was muted. Thank you so much, Irene. We hear you very loud and clear. One of the participants says that, good morning, everyone. I think we need no guidelines or structures for teenage mothers to go back. It's all about changing people's mindsets because they go back to normal after healing. That's one of the participants. I would love to call the Reverend, I hope he's on, to also to throw more light on the issue of school structures, and because he gave a commentary during the video. So I would love him to expound a little bit more on that, like in a few minutes, and then we shall proceed on to the next participant.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me very well. Yes, during the documentary, I actually discussed something to do with the facilities in our school. We need to do a lot of work as far as equipping our schools with facilities to accommodate the pregnant girls is concerned. Yes, we need our girls to go back to school, but we are sending them to schools, first of all, that have no clear policies on how to handle such emergencies. Number two, our schools have no facilities to cater for emergencies that are associated with the pregnancy. But also the teachers, the students have not been well prepared to accommodate and welcome the pregnant girls back to school. Therefore, yes, we need our girls to go back to school, and that is a constant, no questions about that. But then where are we sending them? We are looking at a typical village rural school where children are walking approximately 8 kilometers to school and back. where children are supposed to fetch water, where children have no what to eat, where actually some students and the pupils actually study under trees or under dilapidated structures. But now our girls have been molested, have been subjected to sexual gender-based violence, probably by close relatives. So what are we doing? We need to do something about equipping these schools. We're excited that the Ministry of Gender and Education are on board. We need to do something about the structures. But also now, there are no structures in schools, but there are also no structures in homes, because most of these girls' pregnancies are coming from relatives. They are coming from fathers, uncles, brothers. Therefore, can we as a country, can we as a department, or can we as individuals and organizations make it deliberate to strengthen these family structures at home, such that homes can actually be safe havens for our girls to thrive? Yes, we may send them back to school, but they need the family support systems. And you know that these family support systems of late are very dysfunctional, and some have actually completely died out. So we need to equip the schools, yes. Then we need to also engage the social structures. That is the parenting function. We need to look at us, the religious leaders, because we command these people, so that religious leaders can actually, first of all, inform the parents, these families of the girls, that actually pregnancy as a result of molestation, as a result of violence, is not sin. Therefore, girls should not be castigated. I mean, these young girls have been by their fathers, by their uncles, by our members of the society, which members we are responsible for. So now, engaging these religious leaders to mitigate that issue is very important. But also now the families, our culture, remember this, much as these girls are pregnant out of molestation, but still it is considered as immorality, social dooms, whatever. We need to deal with all these. Therefore, dear stakeholders, we want these girls to go back to school, but now a typical village rural school, shall this school accommodate our girls? Shall they attend to emergencies? In the video, it was not brought out, but I remember saying that even in our organizations, we do not have enough facilities to cater for our pregnant workers, to cater, baby centers, breastfeeding safe spaces. We do not have them. Now, do we expect these spaces to be in the rural schools so that our girls can thrive? Therefore, one, we need to do something about establishing of structures, facilities, but also clear policies from our mother ministries, such that we do not only talk about it, but we be very particular about what we are talking about. Then social engagement. Lastly, engaging of these men, because men are the perpetuators. But in the event of such things, men disappear. Women and girls remain with the problem. Therefore, where are the men? These are fathers, these are relatives, these are grandfathers, these are brothers. What has happened to them? What has gone wrong? Now, this points to the fact that we need more and more men on board, and we need to present ourselves very well as male champions, so that our fellow men can style up and stop landing us into these problems that we even as a country, we are not ready for. So I beg to submit, Sylvia.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. That has been well said. I'm really picking so many points from here for time. I may not go through all of them, but we are looking at strengthening school structures, male engagement, strengthening the family structure. Just a quick one, Alan Giseranga says, clear laws and policies are needed to make sure that these girls can be taken care of undiscriminatively by all stakeholders. Some laws and rules can be at the beginning point of protection as we work on other social structures. Thank you so much, Alan. I would love to briefly welcome Rosette Kiakio to also have a submission. Our time is fast spent. We only have like 3 minutes. So Rosette, briefly just talk about the issues of mindset change and stigma as we enable these girls to really attain education both formally and maybe even vocational. Rosette?
Thank you so much, Sylvia. The documentary was awesome. It showed like everything, but I think to add on what I had said before, community engagement is very important. As everyone has spoken all those things, the problem regenerates from the community. Now, the community will have to be engaged for these girls also to find safe spaces for them. I'm looking at a community-wide efforts to address these teenage mothers, whereby we are engaging communities from the grassroots, changing the narrative. Because now if a girl gets pregnant, they're just out of home, they are seen as the bad ones, they are seen as the ones that are the spoiled ones. They are not, there is nothing that says, you know what, let's support them, let's, help them. So communities, we need to empower community member groups to take action. As Serado, we encourage also vocational skilling for these girls, because some of them might fear going back to school, but they can take on a course, they can take on a skill that can help them to generate income to feed their children. Another thing I was looking at was like creating champions in the community, starting from the grassroots, like the LC one, creating leaders in the youth groups, creating different leaders up to the state level who can come up with, who can be champions of saying, now we need to change, because our culture is there to condemn girls. We need to change this narrative of this culture of whereby we start supporting girls, because they are not the ones that bring this problem to themselves. They are the men, but there is nothing that is said or done about the men. They go on with their lives, everything is okay. They can go back to school and study like as if nothing happens. But because it is the girl who gets pregnant and carries this child, they are condemned, they are discriminated. And if only we want to change this thing, it has to start with the culture. We have to change how the culture is shaped, the norms of the society, and this will start by mobilizing and informing, disseminating rightful information to the communities, to community leaders, to parents, to even the girls themselves, to stop condemning themselves, because them also, they take that guilt, because everyone is guilty in them, they also feel guilty. So we also need to talk about that. Yes, someone has posted about religious leaders. That was my next point. Religious leaders need to be educated. The Bible is there, like seriously, the Bible is there. It condemns certain, all things are sin, but it doesn't say that it's only the girl who sinned. It's everyone has sinned. So the religious leaders shouldn't front the girls because they're the ones who have gotten pregnant, that they should be the ones who should be done what? Should be condemned, who should be just out of school, should be just at home. Most girls who have gotten pregnant during COVID, I saw them in the slums, they're sleeping on the streets as if they don't have parents, and if they don't have where to stay. Why? Because the parents feel they're ashamed, the family is not ashamed because our girl has gotten pregnant. Despite that the girl has gotten pregnant, is still your child, you have to take care of them. So that's why I feel we need to create mindset change. The parents need to be educated, the community leaders need to be educated, the community themselves have to be educated. Some cultures are good, but the bad ones need to be done away with so that we move forward. I beg to admit, because it is late, I'm Rosette Church, the Executive Director of Slum Youth Rehabilitation and Development Organization. Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Wow, thank you so much, Rosette. I really feel that discussion is going on, but because of time, we are going to cut it short. But remember, this will be recorded and you can always go back and replay and continue contributing to the conversation. Gasana Timothy says that we need short-term, mid-term and long-term strategies. We should treat this as an emergency for short-term. Government and private sector and education sector will invest in simple structures to at least provide teaching approaches that benefit them. And then we need to raise awareness and stakeholder engagement among schools, community, parents on the short-term emergency. I hope I've got that right. So we all agree that the issue is at hand. We all agree that we have an issue, and we all know that we have a role to play, that we have different things that we need, the different stakeholders, the parents, the government, and everyone. So, and education is a right for everyone, including the girls who have gotten pregnant and the teenage mothers. So without further ado, I beg to end this discussion, unfortunately, but I really encourage us to go and watch the YouTube video and contribute to the conversation such that, this goes on, because this is an emergency that we really need to address. One person said that the impacts of COVID-19 will go on even to generations. So this is something that we need to react to very fast such that we can save the future generations. Thank you very much.